Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking. I'm looking at an exciting and very relevant book from Oxford University Press. It's called Money Laundering, Law and Regulation, a Practical Guide. This is it. There's some blurb on the back you can have a look at. Heavy book, just under 500 pages. Useful index there. About a third of the back of it is on appendices, which are very useful, dealing with the regulations and so forth. The structure of the book is very much as we would expect. It's got paragraph numbering at the side and footnotes, which are very useful. There aren't that many cases, of course, at the moment. There are a few there, and there's a lot of legislation. The authors are Robin Booth, Simon Farrell, Queen's Counsel, Guy Bastable and Nicholas Yeo, and they've come together and produced what I think is a very useful and comprehensive guide. We've written a review on the web and Flickr, which is in much more detail, but this is more of a presentation, just saying that the title we've given it is Money Laundering, a difficult and contentious area of law, and it can impact on you because it's relevant to a range of people, practitioners like myself doing public access work, and bankers, and anybody involved in both national and international money, international countries concerning money and changing various other things. I think it's important because obviously the public access course itself for barristers spends about half the course dealing with the money laundering aspects, which are considered to be so important. The title itself is apt in that it's a practical guide, because it's certainly a must-buy category of book for any practitioner involved in this area. That's covering any form of domestic anti-money laundering law, and it's particularly relevant, as I say, to counsel who have now undertake public access duties because of the special rules that apply for us. Not only does it explain and elucidate the key concepts of money laundering introduced by the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002 initially, but it injects throughout a wise note of caution on the ways in which this legislation, designed to apprehend the guilty, can also impact on the innocent. And I think anyone who goes into a bank and you're dealing with more than £500 can get funny looks. The bankers are worried, and a lot of other people are, because obviously the back end of a lot of this money laundering is drugs, and of course that again is a serious issue internationally. The authors refer in the book to the scale and frequency with which the law enforcement activity impacts on individuals and businesses innocent of any criminal activity or intention. That has always been the criticism, of course, of the legislation itself. The book therefore deals, amongst a host of other issues, with the effect of current anti-money laundering measures on, for example, bank or financial services employees or other professions or professionals now regulated for money laundering purposes, and it concerns itself not so much on issues of proceeds of crime or stripping criminals of their ill-gotten gains, which again featured in the election and the aftermath with the coalition, but with the activity of money laundering generally and the law intended to combat money laundering, now commonly viewed, of course, as a key weapon in the fight against terrorism. Such areas of as the law and regulation here, and criminal liability pertaining to it, as well as disclosure, customer due diligence and other obligations, are dealt with in some detail. The key concepts and their practical application are also clearly explained, as is the current anti-money laundering regime. The book's secondary purpose, I think, is to help the practitioner deal with circumstances brought about by the impact of the money laundering legislation on either individuals or companies, such as the freezing of a bank account or the seizure of cash, and that seems to have become much more prevalent in recent years. And of course the difficulty there are remedies, and I'm sure many of you may have had clients who are very aggrieved. I certainly recall that from the Abbey litigation on bank charges and the knock-on effect of the powers of the bankers. To add further research, of course, extensive tables of cases are given and legislation, and there's a good glossary and index. The busy practitioner, we think, will also appreciate that among the 8 appendices there's a lengthy and certainly time-saving list of relevant websites, and I think that's a key very much for the modern era. The law is stated at the 1st of November 2010, and it shows, in our view, just how money laundering can impact on you in this excellent practical guide. So thank you to all concerned and OUP in giving us another book which is very contemporary and what we need. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.